Hello, welcome to everyone here who is ready to stand up for the rights of all, because that's what it's all about. This is about the third or fourth National Day of Protest against the bill, and I expect this will keep on going, and there'll be local protests, so that this is not going to stop. Let's keep in mind also, as a couple of people have mentioned, that there's an election coming up in the fall, and that this is the time to get rid of Harper, just like we got rid of the PCs in Alberta. So, defeat Harper in 2015. Now, I know that people are aware of the general nature of the bill, but just a little background here for you. This bill was first presented January 30th, okay? And it's tabled under the hoax of quote-unquote fighting terrorism, which is kind of the general excuse for every reactionary policy these days. And it's called, this is a real mouthful, the Anti-Terrorism Act, an act to enact the Security of Canada Information Sharing Act and the Secure Air Travel Act to amend the Criminal Code, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service Act, and the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, anyway. But we call it pretty much, one of the things that people have labeled it is they call it the Secret Police Act, which probably is pretty descriptive, I'd say. Now, as one of the signs out there says, one of the main feature of this bill is that it actually authorizes what are called black ops or black operations. And that is really state terrorism. That is the real issue here, state terrorism. What are black ops? Okay, black ops are covert operations by a government agency, a military organization, or even by a private company. And the key features are that it is kept secret and not attributable to the organization that carries it out. And usually there's a lot of deception and an attempt to blame it on someone else. So for example, when they have so-called violent demonstrations, we invariably find that it was provoked by the security forces and had nothing to do with the demonstrators. So the blame is laid on people who come out to protest for what the security forces do. The Bill C-51 is not unique, so we shouldn't think that, oh, suddenly, they decided to do this. When Bill C-51 was being introduced, I don't know if you recall, but there was also Bill C-44 in the works. That was Protection of Canada from Terrorists Act, so-called. And the excuse used for that, of course, was the activity in October where one member of the armed forces was killed in Richelieu and another in Ottawa. And it was used as an excuse to expand the forces, the powers of the Canadian, well, that's the CSIS, and this is what's happening with each of these bills. CSIS is being given more and more powers that are so-called legal. Of course, we don't know what they do undercover, right? They don't tell us what they do, but officially their powers are being expanded as well. So previously they were just supposed to collect and analyze information, right? And it was all very secretive and all that, and nobody knew that they were in the top of the Peace Hills Trust because they're such a clever organization. Everybody actually in the city knew that. They're very secretive. So as it says, the official mandate of CSIS is to take measures within or outside Canada against that which is broadly defined as a threat to the security of Canada. And as we know, that is so broad and can be defined as anything, right? It's nothing specific. So what are some of the things that it includes? Entering any place, open or access to anything, to search for, remove, or return or examine. A lot of this all has to be warranted by a judge, of course, but I think you've watched enough crime shows on TV that when the security forces want a warrant, it's often just, okay, fine, sign. So I wouldn't put any stock in the fact that some judge is going to prevent CSIS from doing what it does. Any illusions you might have had about these measures, I thought were really well illustrated by the testimony of Pam Palmater before the Commons Parliamentary Committee on Public Safety and National Security. She's a Micmac lawyer, professor, chair in Indigenous Governments at Ryan University. a noted media commentator, activist, and advocate for the rights of First Nations people, women, and children. So in her testimony, she said, "Welcome to me. I am the new terrorist. My name is Pam Palmater. I'm a lawyer. I'm a professor. I'm a mom. I'm a social justice activist. I've won numerous awards for work in social justice, women's equality, children's rights. Depending on whose, quote, radicalized view you speak of, I have also been called a radical, a bad Indian, an eco-terrorist, an enemy of the people, dangerous militant, and wacko extremist." She then went on to speak of the level of government surveillance that goes on in her case. Now, this isn't meant to frighten people. What it should do is make you extremely angry that these things go on. She said, "In my access to information and privacy request to CSIS, they explained they have a file on me. They don't offer any reason why I would be considered subversive. In fact, everything I do couldn't be more public. Indian Affairs said they do keep an eye on my activities because I am an active voice. Apparently they have 750 pages of documents tracking her, but they couldn't provide her security file because it was destroyed, apparently." She says, "When I attend gatherings, rallies, protests, or public or private events, I cannot make phone calls, send texts, or access my social media. I can be at an Idle No More rally or protest, but I cannot compete with the very chiefs who are at the same protest. How am I supposed to ensure the comfort and safety of the people at rallies if I can't communicate with anything? And I don't have to remind this committee the staggering statistics of vulnerability of Indigenous women in this country. I contacted the RCMP as well. Individual RCMP officers have confirmed they were there to monitor me. Sometimes they don't identify themselves, and sometimes they do. What's more concerning is the number of government officials that follow me around from speaking engagements. Now get this. Probably the most shocking is when I travel to countries like Samoa, Peru, England, and Switzerland, only to be informed by local law authorities that Canadian officials come there to monitor me." In the prairie provinces, the RCMP are very active. They will often call ahead to the university where I'm speaking and ask them to identify what my target will be. And of course, she concludes, C-51 must be withdrawn. There is no way to amend it or to fix it. Just take it away. Now, the opposition, as you know, is broad and growing. And of course, as other speakers have said, the Harper government ignores all opposition. Members of Parliament, senators, trade unions, lawyers, university faculty, First Nations leaders, many others have repeatedly pointed out that there is a lack of any clear connection between Bill 51 and terrorist acts in Canada and their causes. And of course, sanctioning black ops is not going to improve our security, right? No. These arbitrary powers that CSIS is being given, they simply raise the fear of people. They don't make them feel more secure. Now, the tricky argument they use is pretty much summed up like this. They give forward the hoax that you need to strike a balance between rights and security. Now that's like saying that bicycles have something to do with fish. If we take away your bicycle, you'll have more fish. If we take away your fish, you'll have more bicycles. That's about as sensible as what they're saying is. Because Harperites claim that to have security, you have to give up your rights. And none of us are going to stand for that. First of all, we have rights by virtue of being human. They're not something that someone like Harper can take away. And second of all, it's totally false to suggest that having security requires you to give up your rights. And it's just a big lie trying to convince you to support Bill C-51. The plain truth is that our security lies in the fight for the rights of all, not in trampling rights under the foot, under the hopes that this enhances security. Also, it has been pointed out that the government is violating its own laws. It's violating the charter. It's violating even the conception of rule of law, because basically they are saying that the security forces can do what they want. So, to conclude, Bill C-51 and all these other laws Harper's passing, they really do warrant our serious attention. It's all of us, our working people, Indigenous people across Canada who will fall victim to these decisions and arbitrary practices of the security forces. These will be things that we will have no control over. So we have to seize control over them. So we need to continue, for one thing, to vigorously oppose these measures and to make sure that in, again, October, we defeat the Harper government. So together, let us fight for the rights of all.